For 17 years, Dr. Lena Hartley had listened to the universe's quiet hum. She knew its songs by heart, the rhythmic beats of pulsars, the distant cries of quasars, the ancient echo of creation itself. But on March 19, 2043, a new sound cut through the static. It was a whisper that wasn't random. It was deliberate, a pulse, repeating every 11 minutes and 13 seconds, dancing through frequencies in a perfect sequence of prime numbers. Nature rarely speaks in primes. Lena stared at the glowing lines on her monitor, the hair on her arms standing on end. "That's a language," she breathed. Her assistant, Malik, watching beside her, had a different thought, or, he muttered, a knock on the door. The knock came from Zeta Reticuli, 39 light-years. Owaetha, same star system that had fueled UFO myths for decades. But this wasn't myth. It was hard, undeniable data. Within a week, NASA, China's Tiangong Observatory, and every major space agency confirmed it. The world erupted. Half celebrated, half panicked. Hashtags like #CosmicNeighbors exploded online. But while humanity was busy debating, Lena and her team were focused on one thing: translation. The signal wasn't just a simple hello. It was a multi-layered message. First came mathematical constants, a universal handshake confirming they understood physics just as we did. Next, a star map of their system. But the third layer was the most baffling, pulsating, three-dimensional grid showing unseen movement woven between our own constellations. Lena presented the findings in a hushed, midnight briefing. "It's not a map of where they're coming from," she explained, rotating a holographic projection. "It's a map of where they've been. They're already here." The coordinates didn't point to deep space. They pointed to Earth's own Lagrange points, gravitational sweet spots, where a spacecraft could park indefinitely, hidden in plain sight. "You're saying they're hiding in our backyard?" Malik asked, his voice tight. Lena shook her head. "Not hiding," she corrected, observing. The truth was far more profound than anyone could have imagined. These beings weren't arriving. They had simply decided it was time for us to know they'd been watching all along. 2 weeks later, the theory became terrifyingly real. The James Webb 2 telescope spotted something near the far side of the Moon, a dark object, 400 meters across, moving in perfect sync with Earth's orbit. It had no heat signature, reflected no light, and wasn't on any known trajectory. It wasn't a rock, it was waiting. Before any probe could get close, it vanished, gone without a trace, without a single puff of propulsion. Sleep became a luxury for Lena. She started noticing other things, tiny distortions in data feeds from across the solar system, like ripples from an invisible boat crossing a still pond. The conclusion she reached was paradigm-shattering. "They're not a single civilization," she declared to her exhausted team. "They're a network, multiple entities, existing in frequencies we can't perceive. They're overlapping our reality." In July of 2043, Lena stood before the United Nations and the world to deliver the Cosmic Neighbor Report. Her heart pounded, but her voice was steady. She laid out the evidence, the signal, the hidden structures, the gravitational ghosts. Then, she played the final piece of the puzzle, the audio from the decrypted sequence. A haunting, cascading hum filled the chamber, building into a beautiful, complex harmony. When visualized, the sound formed a pattern familiar to every culture on Earth, to interlocking spirals. "We've drawn this symbol for millennia," Lena said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Celtic knots, Maori carvings, the very structure of our DNA. It's not a coincidence. It's a message that transcends species." A journalist shouted from the crowd, "Are they friendly?" Lena paused, letting the weight of the question hang in the air. "They've been observing us since before we first looked up at the stars," she replied. "Perhaps the real question is, what have they learned?" As autumn arrived, the skies themselves began to change. Amateur astronomers captured strange flashes, brief, localized distortions, as if invisible ships were dipping in and out of our atmosphere. Governments issued denials, but leaked footage from a Martian satellite showed vast geometric shadows moving against the sunlit plains of the red planet. The global conversation shifted. People stopped asking if we were alone and started asking why this had been kept secret. Conspiracy theories ran wild. Were they ancient guardians? Were they farming our emotions? The truth, as Lena's team discovered, was even stranger. The pulses from Zeta Reticuli had changed. They were no longer broadcasting prime numbers. They were now perfectly synchronized with Earth's Schumann resonance, the planet's own natural electromagnetic heartbeat. "They're syncing with us," Malik whispered in awe. "They're communicating asterisk through asterisk the planet itself." On New Year's Eve, 2043, it happened. The signal stopped. For 13 agonizing hours, the cosmos was silent. Then every radio telescope on the planet, all at once, received the same transmission. It wasn't a pulse or a tone. It was a voice. Not mechanical, not human, but something that spoke in a resonance that bypassed language. Lena's software struggled, then translated it into a simple, staggering phrase. "You have looked outward for neighbors, yet you have never looked inward. We exist not in your sky, but in your space between atoms, between thoughts. We are the pattern you call life. You were never alone." The message ended. Static returned. In that moment, Earth's magnetosphere pulsed. Auroras of electric blue and violet painted the skies over the equator. Clocks spun and compasses went wild. And then, everything settled. But for those who listened closely, the scientists, the dreamers, the children, a new sound remained. A faint echo in the quiet corners of their minds, whispering, "Remember us." In the aftermath, governments classified most of the data, releasing just enough to confirm the truth without revealing its full, incomprehensible scope. A new philosophy, cosmic humanism, emerged, teaching that consciousness is a shared field connecting all life across the stars. Lena Hartley retired from the public eye. She spent her final years in the Chilean desert with a small observatory, no longer looking out, but looking in studying the resonance between human thought and cosmic patterns. Her last journal entry read, "We kept searching for ships and machines, but our neighbors are made of frequencies, living in the unseen layers of existence." Humanity has finally learned to listen. The next step is to answer. Years passed, the world adapted to its new reality. Then, in 2057, a little boy named Aidan Hartley, Lena's grandson, was playing with an old toy radio telescope. He picked up a faint, repeating pulse. But it wasn't coming from the stars. It was coming from Earth's own ionosphere, echoing outward into the vastness of space. When scientists analyzed it, they found a simple two-word message encoded in binary. A message from humanity, finally answering the call. It said, "We hear you." The story of our place in the universe didn't end with that message. It had just begun. We've spent our entire history looking up, but maybe the greatest discoveries are waiting to be found by looking within. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more explorations into the incredible and the unknown. Until next time, keep wondering.